The encounter. The infinite darkness of space stretched endlessly before the patrol vessel Silent Watcher. For 300 cycles, the Vorthak hegemony had maintained absolute control over this sector of the galaxy. Their sleek crystalline ships glided through the void like predators surveying their domain. Today would mark the end of that undisputed reign, though none aboard the Silent Watcher knew it yet. Overseer Krex stood at the command platform, his 6 eyes scanning multiple data streams simultaneously. The Vorthak were an ancient race. Their bodies evolved for efficiency rather than beauty. 4 arms allowed them to operate complex machinery with ease, while their hardened exoskeletons protected them from the harshness of space. They had conquered dozens of worlds not through violence, but through superior technology and calculated intimidation. Most species surrendered at the mere sight of a hegemony warship. The bridge hummed with routine activity. 20 crew members of various conquered species worked at their stations, all serving the hegemony with quiet obedience. The Melody navigators used their telepathic abilities to plot courses through space. The Reskin engineers maintained the ship's powerful fusion cores. Each species contributed their unique talents to the hegemony's dominance. A sharp chirp from the sensor station broke the monotony. Sub-Commander Velik, a younger Vorthak with ambitious tendencies, turned toward Krex. His voice carried the clicking undertones of their native language. Overseer, we detect an unidentified vessel entering hegemony space. Distance 40,000 units and closing. Krex moved to the sensor display with practiced grace. The image that materialized made him pause. The ship was unlike anything in their extensive database. Where hegemony vessels were smooth and elegant, this craft appeared almost primitive. It was a collection of angular modules connected by reinforced corridors. Solar panels extended from its sides like wings, and its hull bore scorch marks from what appeared to be asteroid impacts. Most puzzling of all, the ship openly broadcast its position and identification codes, making no attempt at stealth. Primitive design, Velik observed with disdain, appears to use chemical propulsion and nuclear fission for power. Their technology is at least 300 cycles behind ours. Should we destroy them or capture them for study? Krex considered the options. The hegemony protocol was clear. Unknown vessels entering their space must either submit to authority or be eliminated. Yet something about this ship intrigued him. Its crew showed no fear despite being vastly outmatched. They continued their approach at steady speed, broadcasting what appeared to be greeting messages in an unknown language. Open communication channels, Krex commanded. Let us see what manner of creatures dare to enter hegemony space so boldly. The main display flickered to life, revealing the interior of the alien vessel. Krex had seen many species in his long career, but these beings were peculiar. They stood on 2 legs with no tail for balance. Their skin was soft and vulnerable, lacking any natural armor or weapons. Hair grew from their heads in various colors. Most disturbing of all, they were smiling. The creature in the center of their bridge stepped forward. She wore a blue uniform with various insignias that probably indicated rank. When she spoke, a translation matrix struggled to interpret her words. Greetings.
I am Captain Maria Rodriguez of the exploration vessel Pioneer's Dream, representing the United Earth Coalition.
We come in peace, seeking friendship and knowledge. We are excited to finally meet other intelligent life among the stars. Velik made a sound of disgust. They announced themselves like younglings at a celebration. Do they not understand they have violated hegemony law? Krex silenced him with a gesture. He studied the humans carefully. Their ship was clearly inferior. Their bodies fragile, yet they showed no signs of submission or fear. Either they were impossibly naive, or they knew something the hegemony did not. Captain Rodriguez, Krex said formally, allowing the translation system to convert his words. I am Overseer Krex of the Vorthak hegemony. You have entered restricted space without authorization. Your vessel will submit to inspection and your crew will prepare for processing. Any resistance will result in immediate termination. The human captain's expression changed, her smile fading slightly. She turned to speak with others on her bridge before responding. Overseer Krex, I believe there has been a misunderstanding. Space belongs to no single species. We are explorers, not invaders. We seek only peaceful passage and perhaps an exchange of knowledge. Surely civilized beings can discuss this reasonably. Velik laughed, a harsh sound like breaking crystal. They think to negotiate with the hegemony? These creatures are either brave or stupid. But Krex noticed something the younger Vorthak missed. The humans were not negotiating from weakness. Even as their captain spoke of peace, Crew members moved to various stations with purpose. They were preparing for something, though Krex could not determine what. "There is no misunderstanding," Krex replied. "The hegemony maintains order in this region. All species must acknowledge our authority. You have two choices: surrender your vessel peacefully or be destroyed. You have one standard time unit to decide." Captain Rodriguez's expression hardened. She said something to her crew in their native language, and several of them nodded grimly. When she faced the screen again, her smile had returned, but it was different now. It reminded Krex of the expression a Valtor beast made before striking at prey. "Overseer Krex, humanity has a long history. We have survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and natural disasters. We have pulled ourselves from the mud to touch the stars themselves. We did not come this far to kneel before the first alien species that demands our submission." She straightened her uniform and looked directly at the screen. "If you want our ship, you will have to take it." The communication ended abruptly. Krex stared at the blank screen in amazement. In 500 cycles of service, no species had ever refused hegemony demands so directly. They always calculated the odds, recognized their inferior position, and surrendered to preserve their lives. These humans had done the opposite. "Tactical analysis," Krex ordered. The ship's combat computer responded instantly. "Enemy vessel is inferior in all categories. Shields none detected. Weapons, primitive projectile launchers and low-yield nuclear missiles. Armor, basic steel and ceramic composites. Threat level, minimal." Velik was already warming up the weapon systems. "Shall I destroy them, Overseer?" "A single plasma burst would vaporize their entire ship." Krex hesitated. Something felt wrong about this situation. The humans knew they were outmatched, yet they chose to fight anyway. Why? What possible advantage could they believe they possessed? "Sir," called out the sensor operator, a nervous melody whose telepathic abilities often detected things instruments missed. "The human ship is doing something unusual. They are venting atmosphere from multiple compartments and redistributing their power systems. I cannot determine the purpose." On the display, the human vessel began to move, but instead of fleeing or attacking directly, it started spinning on its axis while maintaining forward momentum. The rotation grew faster and faster until the ship became a blur of motion. "What are they doing?" Velik asked in confusion. "Have they lost control?" The answer came moments later. The human ship released dozens of small objects from its spinning hull. They scattered in all directions like seeds from a plant. The hegemony's sensors struggled to track them all. "Multiple projectiles incoming," warned the weapons officer. "They appear to be debris. No, wait. They are changing course. They have independent propulsion." Krex realized the truth too late. The humans had not lost control. They had turned their entire ship into a massive centrifuge, launching guided missiles that now approached from every angle. The hegemony's defensive systems were designed to stop direct attacks, not omnidirectional swarms. "All defensive screens to maximum," Krex ordered. "Destroy those projectiles!" The Silent Watcher's weapons came alive, filling space with energy beams. Many of the human missiles were destroyed, but others kept coming. They were not aimed at the ship itself, but at the space around it. When they detonated, they did not produce the expected nuclear explosions. Instead, they released clouds of metallic chaff and electromagnetic pulses. Within seconds, the Silent Watcher's sensors were blind. Their targeting computers could not lock onto anything through the interference. Even their shields flickered as the electromagnetic pulses disrupted their power distribution. "I cannot see them," the sensor operator reported in panic. "All scanning systems are compromised." Through the static on their displays, they caught glimpses of the human ship. It had stopped spinning and was now moving with surprising agility for such a primitive vessel. It approached the Silent Watcher at an angle their weapons could not easily target. Then came the impact. The resolution. The human ship did not try to destroy the Silent Watcher with overwhelming firepower. Instead, it did something no hegemony tactical manual had ever considered. The Pioneer's Dream extended magnetic grapples and locked itself to the larger vessel's hull like a parasite. Before Krex could react, cutting torches began burning through specific sections of the outer armor. "They are attempting to board us," Velik said in disbelief. "These primitives actually think they can take our ship in close combat?" Krex felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. The hegemony had not fought a boarding action in over 1,000 cycles. Their soldiers were trained for ground occupation and crowd control, not corridor-to-corridor combat. Their weapons were designed to incapacitate, not kill. The hegemony way of war was about overwhelming technological superiority, not brutal close-quarters fighting. Seal all affected sections, Krex ordered. Deploy security teams to potential breach points. But the humans were not attacking randomly. Their cutting points were precisely chosen, targeting maintenance corridors and auxiliary passages that were not heavily defended. They knew exactly where to breach for maximum effect with minimum resistance. The first human boarding party entered through a maintenance shaft on Deck 7. Security footage showed 6 figures in bulky armor suits, carrying weapons that looked primitive but effective. They moved with coordinated precision, covering each other's angles and advancing steadily through the corridor. A squad of hegemony security forces met them at the first intersection. The Vorthak soldiers fired their stun beams, expecting the humans to collapse immediately, but the human armor absorbed the energy, dispersing it harmlessly. The humans returned fire with projectile weapons that punched through the hegemony's light combat shields and armor with brutal efficiency. Their weapons are primitive but effective, reported the security chief. Kinetic projectiles traveling at hypersonic speeds. Our shields are calibrated for energy weapons, not physical impacts. More disturbing reports came from across the ship. The humans were not trying to capture the bridge or engineering. Instead, they were placing devices at key structural points. Krex recognized the tactic from historical archives. The humans were not trying to capture the ship. They were preparing to cripple it. Overseer, the communications officer, interrupted. The human captain is requesting communication. Captain Rodriguez appeared on the screen again. She was now wearing combat armor, and Krex could see the interior of an airlock behind her. Overseer Krex, this does not have to continue. We have proven that your technological superiority does not guarantee victory. We humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years. We have turned warfare into a science and an art. Your weapons are more advanced, but you have forgotten how to truly fight. You dare lecture the hegemony about warfare? Felix snarled. Rodriguez's expression softened slightly. We are not your enemies, Overseer. We came here seeking friendship, but we will not accept slavery. Call off this attack and we can discuss terms as equals. Before Krex could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the ship, but these were not internal alarms. The long-range sensors, despite the interference, had detected something approaching. Something massive. Overseer? The sensor operator's voice trembled. We are detecting a spatial distortion approaching at superluminal speed. Something is coming through hyperspace, but the signature is unlike anything in our database. Space itself seemed to tear open as a massive vessel emerged from hyperspace. It was 3 times the size of the Silent Watcher, a grotesque fusion of organic and mechanical components. Tentacle-like appendages writhed from its hull, and its surface pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. The hegemony had encountered many species, but nothing like this. By the void, Velik whispered. What is that thing? Captain Rodriguez's expression had changed to one of grim determination. That, Overseer, is why we are really here. We call them the Devourers. They consumed 3 of our colonies before we learned how to fight them. We tracked them here to your space. They feed on advanced technology and biological matter. They are drawn to energy signatures like your ship produces. The massive creature ship moved toward them with terrifying purpose. Weapons that seemed to be living organisms launched from its hull, screaming through space toward both vessels. Our weapons are having no effect, the weapons officer reported as the Silent Watcher's plasma beam struck the creature without causing visible damage. It appears to be absorbing our energy attacks. Rodriguez spoke quickly. Overseer, our primitive kinetic weapons can hurt it, but we need your shields to survive its attacks. Neither of us can defeat this thing alone. Work with us or we all die here. Krex faced a decision that would define the future of both species. The hegemony way was dominance through superior force, but here was an enemy that made their technology irrelevant, and allies who had proven themselves capable despite their primitive appearance. All security teams, stand down, Krex ordered, ignoring Velik's protest. Captain Rodriguez, what do you propose? Relief flickered across the human's face. Link our ships together. Use your shields to protect us both while we use our weapons to target its weak points. Our boarders are not invaders. They are engineers. They can help integrate our systems if you let them. The next few minutes were chaos. Human and Vorthak worked side by side, their previous conflict forgotten in the face of extinction. Human engineers ran cables between the ships, creating crude but effective connections. The Silent Watcher's shields expanded to cover both vessels, while the Pioneer's Dream's missile launchers targeted the creature's sensory organs. The battle was brutal. The Devourer's bioweapons splattered against the hegemony shields, eating away at them like acid. But the human kinetic weapons found their marks, puncturing the creature's hide and causing it to recoil in pain. It was a type of warfare the hegemony had never conceived, primitive projectiles defeating a horror that their advanced weapons could not touch. "Target the base of its tentacles," Rodriguez commanded, now standing on the Silent Watcher's bridge alongside Krex. "In our battles, we learned that is where its neural clusters are located." The combined firepower of both ships focused on the creature's weak points. Nuclear missiles detonated against its hide while railgun projectiles penetrated deep into its flesh. The Devourer writhed in agony, its bioluminescent patterns flashing erratically. Finally, with a psychic scream that resonated through both ships, the creature retreated into hyperspace, leaving behind chunks of its flesh and a trail of luminescent blood. The bridge fell silent. Humans and Vorthak stood together, exhausted but victorious. It was Krex who spoke first, his voice carrying new respect. "Captain Rodriguez, I must apologize. We judged your species by your technology, not by your character. You could have let the Devourer destroy us and escaped, yet you chose to stand and fight beside us." Rodriguez removed her helmet, revealing a tired but genuine smile. "That is what humans do, Overseer. We are explorers and warriors, diplomats and scientists. We adapt, we survive, and we protect our friends. The question is, can the hegemony accept us as equals rather than subjects?" Krex looked at his crew, saw the fear and respect in their eyes as they regarded the humans. The galaxy had just become a more complicated place. The hegemony's technological superiority meant nothing against an enemy that fed on energy itself. But these primitive humans, with their kinetic weapons and indomitable spirit, had saved them all. "The Hegemony Council will not be pleased," Bellic said quietly. "This changes everything we believed about our place in the galaxy." "Yes," Krex agreed. "It does." He turned to Rodriguez and extended one of his 4 hands in what he had learned was a human gesture of friendship. "Captain, I believe we have much to discuss. The hegemony has maintained order through strength for millennia. Perhaps it is time we learned that there are different kinds of strength." As the 2 captains shook hands, their crews began to mingle. Human engineers compared notes with Reskin technicians. Melody telepaths marveled at human intuition and creativity. What had begun as a confrontation was becoming something unprecedented, an alliance of equals. In the days that followed, word spread throughout hegemony space of the humans who refused to surrender, who fought with primitive weapons and indomitable will, and who saved their captors from a threat beyond imagination. Some in the Hegemony Council called for immediate war against these dangerous newcomers. Others, like Krex, argued for alliance and cooperation. The humans, for their part, shared their history freely. They told of countless wars fought on their homeworld, each one teaching them new ways to survive and adapt. They spoke of turning enemies into allies, of finding strength in diversity, and of never giving up even when facing impossible odds. They also shared intelligence about the Devourers, a species from another galaxy that had driven humanity to the stars in search of allies. The Pioneer's Dream was the first of many human ships to enter hegemony space, but now they came as partners rather than subjects. Human creativity combined with hegemony technology created weapons capable of fighting the Devourers. Human diplomats helped forge alliances between species that had been forcibly united under hegemony rule. The galaxy was no longer a simple hierarchy with the hegemony at its apex. It had become something more complex and more powerful, a community of species, each contributing their unique strengths to face the challenges ahead. And at the center of this transformation were the humans, who had proven that sometimes the most primitive-looking species could possess the most advanced understanding of what truly mattered: courage, adaptability, and the wisdom to turn enemies into friends. As Captain Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the Silent Watcher, now modified with human improvements, she watched the stars with Overseer Krex beside her. "You know," she said, "when we left Earth, we were afraid we would find the galaxy empty or hostile. We never imagined we would find both enemies and friends in the same encounter." Krex's mandibles clicked in what he had learned was similar to human laughter. "And we never imagined that the species that would change everything would arrive in a ship held together with magnetic bolts and determination. The universe has a sense of humor, it seems. In the distance, more ships appeared, human vessels escorting hegemony cruisers, working together to patrol the borders against the devourer threat. It was the beginning of a new era, one where strength was measured not just in technology, but in the willingness to stand together against the darkness. The day aliens met a human warship, chaos had indeed ensued. But from that chaos came something neither species had expected: hope for a future where differences were strengths, where enemies could become allies, and where the human spirit of defiance could inspire an entire galaxy to become something greater than the sum of its parts.